Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TechRaptor podcast. I'm Robert Scrappy, your features editor.
And Otton, editor-in-chief.
Rutledge Doggett, site founder.
Andrew Stretch, the pirate editor.
The pirate editor, because luckily you won't need to sail the high seas to play games because you can play it with your Bluetooth Stadia controller now.
And he's got Game Pass.
I was actually going with Skull and Bones.
Oh,
I forgot about that.
Remember that pirate game?
Yeah,
I remember.
It doesn't exist yet.
I remember E3 waiting in a side room as Alex Santamaria on staff played Skull and Bones. He has played it.
Oh,
This was 4 years ago.
That was 2018, I think.
They
Whatever
just,
year
they
it
just
was.
Almost
Almost
5 years
five.
ago.
they just welcomed him into a room, put a pirate hat on him, threw a bucket of water in his face, and said, "Boom, you've tried it. This is what we've got so far. Come back in 12 years."
Well, I remember we were at the event and they had the booth and everything. And then, like, mid E3, they announced that they were like overhauling the systems or whatever. So the demo they had on the floor, I think,
weird.
was no longer valid almost immediately.
That's going to be one of those things that, like, 15 years in the future, it's going to be like, oh my God, this is resurfaced. You can now, like, download and play the E3 2012 demo of
Like the
Skull and
leak.
Bones kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think let's just get right into it, right? Because that's probably one of the big pieces of news we're going to talk about this week is the whole Ubisoft, like, kind of all of their kind of
Shit
negative, bad reports. Just the like, man, things aren't looking good for them as a company.
Yeah.
So Skull and Bones is delayed for the count 'em sixth time since it's been revealed. It has been in the works for now 10 years in Singapore, and it just keeps getting delayed. It was going to come out, wasn't it, like next month, like the same day as Star Wars Jedi 2, but now they're saying we don't know, sometime in the future. But then they also released a gameplay, like a 30-minute gameplay showcase video. It's like, please watch our gameplay that's not coming out because it's not ready, but we're ready to show you this. So it just feels like a lot of mixed messages about Skull and Bones. Yeah. But at this point, it's also like, you can't even be, like, even if you're excited for it, it's hard to even be disappointed about the delay, because it's like, yeah, this is what's expected now.
Maybe people were making jokes at the start of this year, like, is it actually going to release? And they were right.
It's crazy because like Black Flag came out in 2013, and that felt like it was mostly like, okay, that's like halfway through to a game. They've already got it kind of figured out, and then they don't. Like,
yeah. And that's the crazy thing, right? Is that, yeah, they've had basically the prototype in another game that was pretty successful.
The naval combat in that game was fun too.
Yeah,
like they could have built a story, made it more standalone, I guess, add more ships. They could have very easily released like a $20, $30 small spin-off game like within a year.
Yeah.
And they could have Majora's Masked it.
Well, they even had ship combat in Odyssey as well, if you remember that. So like, it's not like they haven't been building it, and the ship combat in Odyssey was pretty fun as well. So
they've really shipped the bed with this one.
Oh, I get it. I don't know. Skull and Bones to me has always felt like just vaporware. I know we've like seen it, and allegedly someone has played it. I don't know if I believe this story about Alex having played it, but
I mean, to be fair, I didn't see him play it. I saw him go into a room.
Exactly, you know,
monitor, and then he came back out of it.
Yeah, so they could have just been them telling him, "We will give you like
maybe he lied to
candy
me.
if you."
It was just a tweaked build of Black Flag.
They paid him off. They were paying people off. That's the only explanation.
Goes all the way to the top.
My God.
But I've always found it to be such a vaporware feeling game, because even the name of it, right? It's like, guys, we're making a pirate game. Yeah. We need some names for it. What's the thing you think about when you think about pirates? Skull and Bones. That's it. Ship it. You know, like.
I would like to think that, you know, someone in the back of the room was like, oh, maybe Skull and Bones. Yeah. It's like, okay, like that's a little bit on the nose. Like we'll maybe circle back to that. And then just nothing better came along. Like, wow, fuck, I guess this is what we're going with.
Black Flag was already taken.
That's true.
So
infringe upon your own IP.
From Ubisoft Singapore, A Pirate's Life for Me. Rum Drinking Simulator 2013.
What about Sid Meier's Pirates? Is that taken?
Yeah. There's been that speculation. I'd be curious how much, because I know the Singaporean government has invested into it. Like, there's a lot of speculation if that's the only reason it's not been canceled. It's because they're expecting something out of it.
Cannot fail.
Yeah. Like, well, it's got to be released. Failure, sure, but makes you wonder.
Yeah, even if it gets released, like, to what kind of acclaim, to what reception?
It's got no steam behind it at all anymore.
Well, yeah, pirate ships are mostly from wind. Yeah.
I don't know what kind of fucking game they're making. Maybe they're pivoting into some steampunk piratey game. That's more interesting. Now that
would be cool.
Yeah,
but that's why it's not going to be that.
No,
Steam and Bones, guys. Goggles and Bones.
What is this, like Flight of Icarus?
We're just gonna pivot to steamboats on the Kentucky River, and that's the game.
Well, it's crazy. This isn't even the worst news out of Ubisoft this week.
No, but I do. Well, I do have one. I have one more point I do want to say about Skull and Bones. Have you guys seen the gameplay showcase?
I saw the one last year. That's it.
Yeah, I'm talking about the one because we need to make sure it's the right build. Who knows if they scrapped everything?
Oh yeah, it could be totally different by now.
It just looks like Black Flag with a new UI. I wish I were joking, but it's pretty close.
Does that shock you though?
No.
I mean, I would have been like, if you had told me that in like 2014, I'd be like, fucking hell yeah, dude. Let's play it.
Wait, what about in 2023?
I don't care.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to go play Black Flag again for the ship combat, but I don't want to play any of the rest of it.
The rest of it's awful. The actual like Assassin's Creed bits of Black Flag suck. It's all like follow this dude.
Black Flag isn't even an Assassin's Creed game. At no point are you an assassin.
You have the blade, the little hidden thing.
You're like a pseudo assassin.
No. At the start of the game, you find a dead assassin and you take his clothes, and then you just fake it till you make it. At no point do you become an assassin. It's so fucking weird.
Oh, so you're saying Kenway like walked up to the dead assassin, picked up his stuff and looked at it and was like, man, this is cool, but a pirate's life for me, and kept doing his pirate thing for the whole game.
Yeah. Like, he follows some trail. He meets some assassins, and I think like the game ends with you becoming an assassin, but at no point you're doing all this acrobatic shit, all of this assassination stuff. You have zero training. You were not an assassin in Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Are you an assassin in Odyssey?
Forgot about that.
No.
Cassandra's just Cassandra.
Yeah, she uses the spear thing. She doesn't even have the hidden blade.
Valhalla too.
Well, doesn't Ivor have the?
Are you an assassin in?
Or no hidden blade in Valhalla?
I don't. There is no hidden blade in Valhalla.
I'm trying to remember. I think Valhalla, you meet some assassins and work with the assassins in England or wherever the fuck you are.
I think they've kind of like shit all over there. They realized, we're after Desmond's gone, we kind of don't know what to do with this anymore.
Yeah,
I said this on the TikTok the other day, and I was like, just bring back.
Did you just say on the TikTok?
The TikTok we did.
Right? No, you got to go to the Google to find it.
Yeah, we're going to the Google to find the Facebook.
Oh God, I'm a boomer. But I commented and I was like, just bring back Ezio's storyline, and somebody like seriously commented, well, that storyline's finished, and I was like, that's literally not what I meant. I just remaster it, remake it, whatever. Like
they did though, right?
Easily the best one.
I mean, there are those people. There are those people out there, right, who are like huge Assassin's Creed lore, like they're super into it and they're like really caught up.
I've
and
never heard of one of them.
I mean, there's some of them.
This is some Skull and Bones bamboozlery.
They're coming out of the woodworks. I'm telling you, they're the kind of people who play like 80 hours of Valhalla for the 1 hour of the IRL content, like the content that's in the game that's like not in the history part of it, So I'm sure they're looking forward to seeing, how Skull and Bones is secretly an Asterigos project or not Asterigos, Abstergo project. It's one of them. It's a secret project, and maybe Desmond is in Skull and Bones, and that's the end of it. That's like the post-credit scene.
Oh, shit.
Desmond walks in and he's like, "I'm building a team."
That's right.
Of assassins.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, he's back as Minerva's pawn or some shit. I don't know.
How long until time travel's in the series to where they can make a storyline where Cassandra and Desmond and Ezio and all of them team up?
Oh, it's like the
Just
Avengers,
chilling.
the assassin Avengers.
I thought that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, I mean, if I get, yeah, that works for me.
All the famous assassins work together.
Yes, and it's an MMO
game.
Yeah,
service.
exactly.
Yep.
Wait, what's the new what are they calling that? Like
Infinity, the live service one.
I mean, what was the first Avengers?
Infinity War.
I think the first Avengers was just called Avengers.
Yeah, but you know what I meant.
The first important one.
The first Thanos one.
Yeah.
The one where they all fucking died.
Wow, spoilers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Infinity War, right?
Yeah, Infinity War. Yeah.
So they're calling it Assassin's Creed Infinite. Just saying.
Yeah. But
Okay.
other
Saw how that went for Halo Infinite. So
really well, very well. Ubisoft also canceled 3 games that haven't been announced yet.
3 more, didn't they?
Well, 3 more. Yeah, because there's one other one. Yeah,
earlier last year or something.
Mm-hmm. So now they're up to like 4 games that have been canceled that have been unannounced. So like we have no idea what it is.
Don't worry, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still coming. Don't worry.
I swear it will for sure. And also Mario and Rabbids and the Just Dance 2023 release apparently had some soft sales for Ubisoft. So overall, things are not looking great for the company. I believe there's an email from the CEO, Guillermo, who was like, "Ball's in your court now, employees."
That was such an insane email.
Yes.
Like to be like, "Hey, we had a really rough year last year, but it's 100% on your shoulders to fix." Like maybe manage the company better.
Yeah, as if the CEO has no responsibility.
Yeah, he laid everything on the employees rather than saying, "Here's what I'm going to do to help," whatever. And they put a hiring freeze in place. He said that they will not be rehiring roles for anyone who leaves or is fired, which is just interesting.
Who was it that was trying to buy Ubisoft? Maybe that would have been better off.
Vivendi?
They kept staving off their buyout.
Yeah, and then Vivendi just gave up eventually. Yeah.
And I think Jeff Grubb tweeted, so like, grain of salt, right? Like it's not always 100% right, but like he mentioned that Ubisoft has been trying to get acquired, and everyone that they've been trying to sell themselves to were just like, we're good. Because they have so many studios.
But yeah, there was a deal that fell through after the financial reporting, basically. Like they were close to a deal, and then the final financials came out, and they were like, "Yeah, no."
They're probably like, "You can't even sell a Mario game. You're fucked."
I mean, honestly, though, yeah, I am surprised that Rabbids, the new Rabbids game, did not sell that well.
It reviewed well. The first game's fun. It's worth. I mean, go play it.
I feel like there was very limited advertising for the second one.
I agree.
Like the first one, I knew all about. I knew everything going into it tangentially. This one, like, released and then,
yeah. It just kind of, I guess, released to a flat reception in a way, and I don't know. I wonder if part of it too is that Ubisoft's brand has just become so. I mean, because like it's been actually a decade now of like, yep, same old Assassin's Creed, same old Far Cry, and those are the only 2 tentpole things they fucking release. And the Division, I guess that's there. It's like they kind of have these kind of like milk toast blah kind of reputation of games.
They've like left some of their cooler franchises just behind, like Splinter Cell. They haven't done one of them in forever.
The last 2 are
there's
pretty
been a Rabbids party game.
All kinds of stuff.
That's what we were talking about, right? The Rabbids games.
There hasn't been a Rayman. Actually,
Rayman is bomb. No, Rayman was in the latest Mario game.
But
they have such a nice backlog that they could execute on, but they keep like it feels very trend chasey at times. Like I think once they got Rainbow Six Siege going well, like that's still a very like solid brand. They absolutely suck at curbing the toxicity. But it is a very well made game.
It's a niche kind of game though in terms of shooters. Is part of the
Rainbow
problem.
Six.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I guess it is
in the grand scheme
Siege
of
Siege is definitely there is a very high skill ceiling.
Right, but Siege I also feel like runs into a brand problem where it's like we're trying to be ultra serious, but then also look at our cool heroes, these weird wacky heroes that have crazy backstories and have weird abilities because we want to be like Overwatch, but we're still serious guys, you know?
Are you talking about Lawbreakers?
A little bit, but no.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
Just give me a new siphon filter.
I don't know. It's funny that now that they seem to be like Assassin's Creed, they're like, we're gonna go back to the old formula because this new one that we did, it's too much to get now. So we're gonna. It's like a rubber banding back and forth.
It's Odyssey a new formula, the old formula.
Odyssey and Valhalla were like overwhelming at times.
They're too long.
Yes.
Yeah. Just
like big.
Too much.
I enjoyed Valhalla, or not Valhalla, Odyssey, but I don't know how it ends. I don't even know if I got to the second act or the rising action of the plot. If we're talking the OG, like the typical, story format, and I put 40 hours into it. Like
You're not even close. You're not.
Yeah, I could not even.
It's like an 80-hour game. It's insane.
Yeah.
I stopped playing it and then came back to it months later and was like, oh yeah, I guess now it's kind of new again. I think I play it.
like that's what I did. I would come back to it after a couple weeks off, and I got to a point where like Cassandra got married or something, and I'm like, I don't even remember having agency in this, and I think it might have been a DLC. I think it was a DLC. Yeah. So that happened, and I'm like, okay. So I'm going around like banging everyone across the island, across Greece.
As you do.
And then this guy for some reason is the one where I don't have a choice because it's DLC, which is weird.
There's also Prince of Persia.
Oh yeah.
What's that? What's that?
It's a very acclaimed movie franchise.
Right. Because that's another one that's been like, oh, here you go. Like we're gonna give you a remaster to.
Like, didn't that remaster have a firm release date? And then it was like, well, never mind.
I believe so.
They're having they're having difficulty getting, Jake Gyllenhaal time with his schedule.
Right, because he's in the game. Like they mocapped him in.
He is the Prince of Persia.
Right. And I do want to take a moment to highlight Just Dance too, because I mean, there's been one every year. We all know it.
You know
it's
why this one didn't do so well?
I was about to get into it.
It came onto the Wii.
I don't think that was it, actually. I mean, that's probably part of a reason, but also, that if you buy Just Dance 2023, which is a $59.99 plus tax in America purchase, you get 1 month free of Just Dance Plus trademark, which is their subscription service where you can get free songs every month, and it rotates, and it's a bulk of the songs you would probably dance to. So to really play Just Dance 2023, it's a $60 upfront purchase plus a monthly subscription.
So they stadiated it.
Exactly. Who the fuck is going to do that for a dumb dancing game?
I don't know anybody that plays it, regardless.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Whenever it shows up at their E3 show, I'm like, all right, I guess I don't know who this is for, but you guys do it every year.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I've always assumed it kind of has like that weird Wii Sports energy where you don't think about it as like one of the best games ever, but like everyone has it,
No.
But yeah, no. I guess not. So yeah, things are looking pretty rough for Ubisoft right now. And I mean, even if you think about their upcoming releases for this year, it's like what? Avatar and
boys, that Avatar game better be a success.
Yeah, it's like 2023 allegedly, right? Isn't that their window?
They better hope it's got really
I haven't looked that far ahead,
because that's all that people care about when it comes to Avatar.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like later end of 2023 was what they're aiming for, but who knows?
Shit, if Skull and Bones isn't coming out, that shit ain't coming out.
Yeah. Like we haven't even seen any gameplay of the Avatar thing.
I don't think so. Just that one.
It seemed like a teaser, and that's
trailer.
That's it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like what Skull and Bones, Avatar, and then the Assassin's Creed games that they have confirmed. Like they confirmed Mirage is a thing, and
Red, they're going to Japan.
Right. But I mean, again, it's all kind of
yeah.
There's probably a Far Cry 7 in the works. Probably.
What? Is it gonna have some wacky villain?
Yeah,
I hope so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, for real though, can we get a Blood Dragon 2, please? Like, you know, I know that there's a lot of stuff that we're saying that we don't give a fuck that you publish, but can we get a Blood Dragon sequel finally?
Just get a full game of it.
Amazing.
I did see someone shared a Blood Dragon screenshot on Reddit the other day, and it was mocking about, oh, you want to turn off the tutorial? You have to pay for the Super Plus Turbo subscription. And I'm like, haha, that's so funny. Very satirical.
Still relevant.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Ubisoft. In other news, Dunkey, the YouTuber guy that you might know with like, I don't know, 7+ million subscribers or something around that. He had Bigmode, his publishing house. It was announced, a couple months ago. We covered it on the show if you'd like to take a peek at the previous episodes. But he has announced the first game for Bigmode, and it's called Animal Well. It's like this 2D Metroidvania kind of vibes where there's going to be a lot of secrets and hidden things. I know Stretch is very excited for it because it kind of scratches that same itch Tunic scratched for him of like everything is like all secrets are hidden in plain sight, but you need to know the parcel tongue to understand it.
This is the game that they released the launch trailer of at, I think it was Day of the Dev.
I think so.
That they then said like the ARG starts now. There is a secret within this trailer. The first 10 people to crack it will get a free copy of the game.
Did you do it?
I never heard the outcome of that. Now that I was just thinking about that when he was talking about it. I'd be curious to know what the secret was.
Well, so, Stretch, did you crack it? Were you one of the 10?
No, I'm just going to play it when it comes out. When the big thing that I remember I was laughing at a lot from when Dunkey announced Bigmode was his idea of saying, I've played a lot of games. I know what's a good game. I'll just be able to pick a good game to publish. And like the
it's a pretty wild idea
out there thinking, but tell you what,
it seems like
he's got a good
one already.
It's working.
Like he picked a good one.
Yeah. It's working for you, huh?
Yeah, like I definitely shit on him at the time, and I need to apologize, Mr. Dunkey, because
that's right.
You've definitely picked a really interesting looking game that is probably going to get
Super Mario Bros. 2.
Yeah.
Like you see that's I still stand by what I said then, right? It's like at the end of the day, whether you like or hate Dunkey, this is just some dude out there who's putting his own money toward a video game. Yep. And if you, now that we know the first one, if you like Animal Well, that's great. Like good, exciting, right? You can play it and it's gotten wider visibility and it has some funding that might help it become an even better game than what it wasn't before. If he puts out Animal Well and it's bad, oh well, I mean, you can play another game. Like
yeah,
it's just him losing money and you're just doing your own thing.
Yeah, and maybe he does prove to have a knack for picking out these games, and he
you were hoping for someone to laugh at that, huh?
No, and I didn't realize what I was doing until I said it. I was like, oh yeah, he's big into knack.
Okay.
But hopefully he does have a knack for like picking games, because sometimes it's nice to have like a publisher or a company where like, they'll at least pick interesting stuff most of the time. If I pay attention to what just they're doing.
Maybe he'll publish the next Knack game.
Maybe.
I mean,
Knack 3,
Sony
maybe?
probably won't. I don't know. I think Dunkey does have, I mean, like he did kind of go off on like, oh, I played these really big games and like I have good taste, right? But I mean, I think in some ways, yeah, like when you look at some of his reviews, he does have pretty decent taste, right?
He's
like
usually pretty fair. Like his reviews aren't bad. He's being like a serious video.
Yeah.
For review, his like other opinion ones I got problems with, but the reviews ones. are usually pretty all right.
Yeah, and he's usually pretty fair about like even when he hates a game, he'll play it a bunch and then kind of come to a conclusion about it, as opposed to just
he played Death Stranding like 3 times.
4 times, I think is what he said. And like he first released a video that was like, I fucking hate this dumb art installation of a video game. And then now he's like, actually it ain't bad. So like he comes around, right? He like changes his opinions and like kind of, you know, has decent ones for the most part when it comes to games. So I mean, Animal Well could be the first of many decent games, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think the easiest and best takeaway is that he's putting more money into the space for it to allow projects to be made, and that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. So
like we lose nothing out of it.
Doesn't affect anything. Like we maybe get cool games. Maybe not.
I gain a new game to absolutely lose my life in. Mm-hmm. I'll be speaking a second language by the time it comes out.
And it's all thanks to Dunkey.
Stretch's Google Doc that's 273 pages long.
Right. And it's all in a language you don't understand, that no one understands but Stretch.
Yeah. I'm just reading this thing like, I don't know what this says. And he's like, well, if you look at this means this. And then he's going to like have a little cipher for us.
I think like Dunkey's going to release a video and that will be part of a puzzle to figure out for the game. Within his video.
An ARG.
Within a new Dunkey video.
That would be clever.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty good.
Mm-hmm. You have the ideas out there for you.
Yeah. We know you're listening, Dunkey. So
you have a knack for good ideas. You gotta laugh that time.
Nothing like beating a dead horse, huh?
Or a dead donkey in this case.
Mm-hmm. Last bit of news here is a pretty big one. Wizards of the Coast were allegedly going to release. They make this Dungeon and Dragon thing.
I heard of a shit wizard. That's what they are. That's what they mean by Wizard of the Coast.
So yeah, you might know them from Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. There's an OGL 1.1 that was leaked, which is kind of their general like. How would you describe it? Like a
open
content
game license?
Yeah, it's just like how like if you make content based on their game,
licensing kind of agreement. Yeah, if you're gonna make something.
Right, and the 1.1 was not great. You probably have already seen buzz about it on Twitter and Reddit and wherever. And then they broke their silence and said that they're working on a 2.0 that they will share in the future. And in the meantime, there's been a lot of like grassroots, like #OpenD&D of, you know, this licensing kind of sucks. It fucks over smaller creators. I think Paizo released their own licensing agreement of some kind that's basically a big middle finger to D&D, to Wizards of the Coast's very restrictive OGL 1.1. That's kind of where the story's at right now. In a stretch, I think you're kind of like on this pod the leading expert of this licensing agreement. It's
been all over the place. The fact that like the start of the week began with, you know, I've got, you know, an IO9 writer who had a copy of the 1.1 OGL, and there was some real crappy stuff in there. Stuff like the ability for Wizards to publish other people's content that have agreed to use the OGL 1.1, a royalty fee, which I don't think is as bad, or at least it was a lot worse, and now it's not as bad, and a whole bunch of other weird shit going on, even to the point that like the OGL 1.1 was meant to deauthorize the original OGL 1.0A that was released over 2 decades ago. Mm-hmm. Even though there's specifically a line in the first OGL to say, well, you know, even if we change something, you can keep using 1.0. So we would have no purpose to change it. So by deauthorizing it, they're trying to get around their verbiage in the last one. That's probably going to have to come down to a matter of a legal dispute. Whoever can set precedents one way or another. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then we also had the leaked frequently asked questions document about OGL 2.0 that still had like the royalty system. The royalty system was dialed back a bit, and there was some extra clarifying verbiage, and kind of some more of their intent was put on that, and then within 12 hours of that FAQ for OGL 2.0 coming out, then suddenly there's, finally some official word from them that states in there that they're removing all of the royalty stuff. They're changing the way that they're planning on putting in protections that doesn't allow them, control or a license of other people's created content. It's all very weird. So at the moment, it's like, yeah, they've rolled a lot back to the point that there isn't really much more that they're getting out of what will be this new OGL. I think a lot of it is also to beef up the verbiage to protect against like NFTs and stuff and blockchain, or at least that's what they've stated. But now they've done a whole bunch of talking the talk, and it will be a matter of seeing whether they walk the walk and when the OGL actually gets published, or whenever the next version of it leaks, which I'm sure a new version will have already leaked by the time this podcast is out.
Probably, yeah.
It'll be interesting
throughout
to
this
see.
too, there was some email leak where, and I don't remember who it was, but somebody basically said like the customer is the obstacle to making money.
Yeah, that was a verified anonymous employee of Wizards of the Coast who had emailed a bunch of content creators. And like specifically, and it was like, I'm going to be sending this to a lot of content creators, that they were talking about how the way that higher ups describe the customer is as an obstacle to their wallet, not as like someone that they actually want to create content for. A lot of very corporate stuff. Corporations are not your friends. I shill Dungeons and Dragons. I shill Xbox. It's all companies.
Yeah.
It's such a wild take to have when you don't really have a tangible product people are buying necessarily. That's one of the problems with I know that's what they're struggling with making this license, is how the fuck do we make money off of this? Because it's hard to do it when it's, like I say, you don't have a tangible product or a thing that you could only do Dungeons and Dragons if you have this thing, which you don't need anything. You don't need any of their shit. You have one guy that needs to have a book maybe, and you can do whatever the fuck you want.
And you just buy dice and you're good. Or you can just Google one of the dice rolling,
and that seems like such a correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the path forward to them seemed pretty obvious, and like they make products and services that make it as easy as possible to play a Dungeons and Dragons game.
Yeah, and that's exactly
what they should be doing.
Like D&D Beyond does.
Yeah, they should be leaning into that stuff more.
Rolling out the VTT, and they're selling digital dice through that as well. Yeah. It's really, they've got all the mechanisms to monetize Dungeons and Dragons further in a positive way. But you're trying, and also to an extent, like, I do not disagree with the idea that this is a company that makes all of the base rules. So yeah, if someone comes along and profits a lot, that it kind of makes sense that the original company would like a slice of that pie. It may come across as, shitty or malicious or targeting or something, but I think that truly is business. And I love Dungeons and Dragons. They're a company, they're a business, they have a bottom line. It's a very large bottom line because they're a $1 billion company. But it's there.
I think the two things for me are that, number one, Wizards went from a $400-ish million a year company in 2017 to a $1 billion company in 2021. Rough financials. Nobody really knows exactly. They haven't released the 2021s yet. So there's that. They have grown exponentially over the last 5 years. And then number two, that royalty, I think, was based on gross income, which,
or revenue.
That was something that the further verbiage in the FAQ specified and outlined that it was everything over that limit. So if a company made in a year over $750,000, it was whatever is over that limit is what the royalties would be paid on.
Okay.
So if a company sold $800,000 worth of books, and the verbiage in for the FAQ for the 2.0 had already shifted away from 25% to 20% for everything. So if they made 800,000, then it would be 20% of the 50,000 that went over. So like if, especially for like Kickstarters and stuff, if you have your goal and your goal is this much, then all of the budgeting that you do should already be within that goal. So everything on top is gravy. Yeah, there's stretch goals and stuff as well, but it's all gravy. So it would just be whatever is over the 750K is what would then be paid to a percentage of that is what would be paid to Wizards of the Coast. But then with this latest D&D Beyond post, they're saying there's going to be no royalties at all. So
yeah, because I don't know, there is something about, like, I think the through thread we've been talking about here is just that the company itself is just kind of a little, the customer is the obstacle, right? That mindset of like, we got to win no matter what. And it's like, these people are just pawns to us, we kind of that vibe, right? And I would just like to read one quick little paragraph from the D&D Beyond post, because it is wild to me that this is like, this has gone through hopefully some PR people. I hope that it's gone through some public relations experts, but I mean, let me read it and you guys tell me what you think. A couple of last thoughts. First, we won't be able to release the new OGL today because we need to make sure we get it right, but it is coming. Second, you're going to hear people say that they won and we lost because making your voices heard forced us to change our plans. Oh my God, Otton's face. These people will only be half right. They won and so did we.
That is some like a Square trying to spin the Quiet Man into the Room level of bullshit. Like
that's like
that is a statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I fucking good on you to have the balls to do that. That's fucking wild. Like, no, we fucking won. Like, that's such a baller move. Like, damn.
Like, PR statements are not the place to be like, and we won. No, we won. You won too, but so did we.
It really gives you some insight into how they feel about it. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's like they want to be, they want to be the $1 billion company that like sidles up to you on the playground. It's like, hey, bud, we're both winning, and it's just like, I'm sure that,
and then hits you in the face with the dodgeball.
In a similar vein to how like that statement should have gone through more PR, should have gone through more editors, and just this whole process. I don't know how much of it would have been spoken about behind closed doors. There's definitely some bold-faced lies that are very easy to pick out in that statement, such as, well, what was leaked was only drafts. And it's like, well, why did you send it with a DocuSign? That's not how you...
Weren't they supposed to be doing a stream where it was assumed it was going to be announced like in the next couple of days or a couple of days ago?
Yeah, they like canceled it the day of.
The original plan was that it was going to be, it was given to creators at the start of the week and then was meant to be signed by them on Friday, and then it would be publicly announced on Friday.
Yeah.
But it just seems like, all of the part of the process that you would think, before we force people to sign this, let's negotiate. And it feels like that's
feedback.
all. Yeah, or get feedback, spitball stuff. It feels like just that's all happening out in the open.
To go back to that statement for a second, though, like the way that it's written is like it's pitting us versus them mentality, where we're in a fight, but it's at the end it's trying to say, oh, but we're all winners here, but it's such a weird way to pit stuff. Yeah, like it's us versus you, or us versus whoever the other groups. It's such a strange,
especially for the property D&D is. where it's built on community more than anything. Like you've got your group that you're campaigning with on a regular basis, and we're working together towards an end goal mentality when you're playing D&D, not as much of an us versus them. So for them to be like, we won and you won, it's just very counter to that like community mindset.
Well, and it's like these content creators are the reason D&D is as big as it is now.
Yeah.
Like, without question, without Critical Role blown up, would D&D be nearly as popular? No fucking way.
God.
No way.
No way.
Like, D&D would still be like, not underground, but just like it's there.
It would be around, but we wouldn't be having a fucking movie coming out in a couple months. I'll tell you that.
And a TV show.
Yeah.
I know that some people don't like Critical Role, but it is impossible to separate them from the success that D&D has
no
had.
question.
Like
the best thing to happen to D&D was podcasts.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Podcasts and a pandemic. I think the pandemic really helped.
Yeah. I don't know, because I tried to think of like, how do we compare this to other like relevant or related sort of like relationships in the like business and creation world, and like the closest I can think of is like if Fender Stratocaster, like the company Fender, was like, anyone who plays any notes on our guitar, we can own it and sell it. Yeah, it's like, and
with how fucked up the music industry is, if you told me that was a real thing, I'd have believed you.
Yeah, this is like, I feel like I don't know enough about the music industry, because like at some point when you're like a big, like you're selling out arenas, right? Yeah. And if you have the word Fender on your amp, like, do you have to pay for that at that point? Because for sure that's advertising by that point, right?
They're getting paid in exposure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just like the interns, right? But then, if you're just, a hobby guitar player, you just picked up a Fender Strat, right? Like, you probably aren't going to be paying Fender even more money.
On SoundCloud.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's such a weird, like, there's definitely like a line right between like small and larger creators in terms of like how monetization would work. I just feel like Wizards walked far away from the line and just said fuck you to everyone.
Yeah, that's also like people have been saying through all of this. Like Critical Role just released the statement, didn't really say anything as you would expect, because this is all ongoing, heated, whatever. They were really just saying something so that they have said something. But the people who are looking at this OGL, like I'm pretty certain that whatever is going on with the OGL, I don't even think that the OGL 1.0 would have been the license agreement that they would have been operating under. I am sure most that there would have been something else, some other discussion, some other agreement, due to just how important that relationship is.
Yeah, like they probably have their own unique contract.
Yeah,
probably.
For sure.
Yeah, and probably so do like with the other big, like really big D&D podcasts. I would bet there's probably something unique to it,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But once you get to that size, you're already going to have a closer relationship with Wizards, and there will be, once you start getting into exclusives and brand deals and a lot of the stuff around that, that's usually when more customized agreements come into place.
Yeah.
But at this point, everyone's just got to keep holding Wizards to their words. Mm-hmm. They've walked the walk. Let's see the contract.
Yeah,
let's see you do the thing that makes it so that third-party producers can continue to create like a million times fold the amount of content that the company itself is able to publish.
Yeah, and keep D&D relevant, because they're the ones that are doing it.
Because that's the tough thing for them, right? Is like because of D&D's popularity, the popularity of other tabletop pen and paper RPG type rule sets have also gone up. Mm-hmm. So ironically, it's like, well, if D&D shits its bed, I'll just go and play something else. I'll play Pathfinder. I'll play Lasers and Feelings. I'll play Drunken Bear Fight. Like there's a ton of other weird ones out there that are comparable.
And I mean, anytime
cool ones.
Yeah.
Anytime D&D has an issue like this, Paizo usually benefits.
Yeah.
We were talking this pre-pod, but like the founder, president, and IP attorney for Paizo came from D&D. They were directly involved with OGL 1.0.
Yeah.
And it's funny that they created their own, they're creating their own new license around Pathfinder and their properties called the ORC or ORC. And I just have had a great time posting the time of the orc has come from Lord of the Rings lately. So it's interesting to see what they're doing, and I'll be curious to see like the dynamic between Paizo and Wizards in terms of this licensing over the next couple months. But Paizo's made it pretty clear that they're like, we want it to be collaborative.
They smell blood in the water. They're hopping on that market share.
Well, like I think another thing that Wizards maybe underestimated, or maybe didn't quite realize, is that a lot of these big content creators, it is not really the rule set that makes them popular. They could go to a different set of rules. I don't care. Does Critical Role need to be on D&D for it to be popular? Fucking no. No. They could do.
They started on Pathfinder, I think.
Yeah, they did. So I mean, that's not what made them popular necessarily.
Yeah, I think it's just that for a while D&D was kind of synonymous with like, tabletop RPGs, right? Like just culturally speaking. But now I think we've got
like these
also devil worship.
If they need to, they can pivot pretty easily. Like, well, it'll be an adjustment, but they could do different rules. So who gives a fuck? Like,
100%.
Yeah.
Like that's all they are. They're just rule sets. You create your own world with your characters and all of that, right?
Yeah. Technically, you can just make your own rules. Just make it up as you go.
Yeah. Hear me out. Okay, if I roll a d20 and it lands on a 20, I'm going to call that a nat 20. That's going to be my first roll.
I've heard that somewhere.
Wizards of the Coast lawyers, open up.
Okay, let's pivot over and let's talk about some video games. Otton, you have been playing some. I think you might have had a typo on the document we're all looking at here. I'm gonna assume you're playing Crisis Core.
What did I put there? Crisis.
You put Crisis Snore.
Oh. Crisis Core
definitely
fucking
a typo.
Sucks. Yeah, I've been bamboozled. I have been tricked into thinking this is good for years. It's been a PSP game, and I was like, I like Final Fantasy VII. You get to learn a little more backstory, who the fuck Zack is, learn more about Sephiroth, blah, blah. I'm down for that. Never got to really play it on PSP. This reunion thing gets announced. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, perfect. I get to play some more Final Fantasy VII. I like Remake. They apparently redid the combat a little bit to be like Remake. And then they fucking tricked me. This game sucks. The writing is awful.
You went into it thinking that it was a good game, and it's an amazing game.
No, I went into thinking it was good, and then I came out thinking, how dare they fucking charge what they're charging for this garbage? That was my reaction. It sucks.
Gaga.
Oh, God.
I've seen you guys say Gaga. Zach sucks. I don't understand why people like Zach.
Zach sucks ass. I hate him. I hate everything about Zach. I hate all the emails that I get. Cloud's like, whoa, man, where you at? Like, Sephiroth just burned the fucking town down. Like, Cloud, why are you emailing me this? Like, what are you doing? Like, just all the emails suck. They're written poorly.
The email stuff is so funny.
Fucking, I hate so much of it.
It feels like a PS2
Genesis
JRPG.
Is a fucking douche.
He is. It feels so. Because I've been playing
it of that era.
It is a product of the era. The writing is pretty rough, and I feel like the voice acting is doing it absolutely no favors because it's falling so flat. And Zach he's like excited. Like the voice actor for Zach is excited to be in the booth, and I can tell because he sounds like he's a dude reading lines in a booth, instead of like the character Zach Fair who's in the battle and all that, right? Like he's like a 90s anime dub actor, like, oh no, watch out for that thing over there, like that sort of vibe.
Like I said, it felt like it's all of Square's like worst qualities, like all put into one and up a notch, like all the mistakes that they make that are like, ignore that part of this game because the rest of it's pretty cool, but they didn't get to the rest of this pretty cool part on this one. They just did all the bad shit, and I hated all of it.
Yeah, I mean, like I was in a similar boat. I had always thought like, oh, this is kind of like one of those OG hidden gem sort of things in the Final Fantasy.
That's the way people sold it. Those fucking liars. Anyway,
I think like I like the combat for what it is. It is pretty simple
right.
and straightforward. I think the roulette system is definitely truly the definition of mixed bag.
Like you don't like to see the random flashbacks mid combat.
I think the most tension I've felt in the game so far is the first 3 seconds of the cutscene when I'm determining if I've seen it before and I can skip it or not.
Yep.
That's it's definitely a very interesting system to throw in the middle of a combat, like action, real-time action combat sort of thing.
But I guess to get into it, like to be what things that were really annoying, it constantly interrupts you. Like you just walk 5 feet and it's like, all right, I'm gonna make Zach stop, do this really slow animation of him picking up the phone, and they talk, and then there's like a 2-second gap, then the next person talks, and then there's another couple seconds, and then he talks. Everything takes a fucking million years to do. It takes forever. Like you just walk down a corridor. Oh, let me stop so Zach can say some fucking bullshit that doesn't matter, and then move on. Like all the time.
The timing is a little weird.
It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts every time.
It's just like standing there, and then the cutscene starts.
It drove me nuts.
It was on the menus as well. There was weird delayed triggering.
Yeah. And man, I will tell you though, as much as we're dunking on the writing, I did think it was brilliant when Angeal, the character, sprouts his wing. It's a white one wing, and he's like, "I'm a monster," and Zach's like, "No, you're an angel. You're an angel."
Well, it was like very early on, like one of the, like in the first 30 minutes, he's all like, it's like, "Are we monsters?" And it just fucking moves on. Doesn't come back to it.
Oh, it is peak soap opera. Like soap opera anime acting.
Oh.
No, Yakuza is peak soap opera anime acting.
That's right. Yakuza is it done right.
Yeah, this is like melodrama.
Like the only thing that I was like, that's kind of rad was the fight with Sephiroth, like the one cutscene where they're like, he's cutting up the fucking gun barrel.
Oh,
I was like, that's kind of rad.
Mm-hmm.
That was
a good cutscene.
Anime fight moment.
Yeah.
And then they didn't like get in trouble or anything for that. They literally cut the gun off.
I mean, Sephiroth can kind of do whatever the fuck he wants.
On.
Well, that was just
that was in a VR
thing.
training thing.
That's right. It was VR, wasn't it?
They do destroy the training room.
They do ruin the room. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I'm in chapter 5 now, I think, and I've realized that I've zoned out on some of the story stuff now. I just I honestly can't. I can't recount to you what Angeal or Genesis's goals are, or
I don't think they know
how Zach is related, other than being the puppy dog that they all kind of kick around.
Like die because they're slowly decaying.
So they sprout angel wings.
That's part of the decay.
Ah,
that all gets explained later.
Yeah, it'll all get explained later, but early on,
they do actually do it for all of like the Genova Eternals, everything shit. They do actually do a pretty decent job explaining what's up with Genesis and Sephiroth and Angeal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like chapter 7 or 8, I think it gets explained a little bit more, or starts to be.
See, what I do feel like I am obligated to finish the game just because I am excited for Remake 2, and I do feel like I need the context of Zach and his whole thing to play it.
I feel like you got his context.
This isn't going to be part of the new canon. I think Square made it clear that like Crisis Core is still like directly tied to the original.
Based on how Crisis Core ends, it's not in the same.
Yeah, it's not in the same timeline, but I think it's still like 7 is a remake that's riffing off of the OG 7 and its family of products. So I feel like because I've never even played Dirge of Cerberus either.
I'm not getting tricked into that bullshit. I'm not playing that. Fuck that. I've been tricked once. Fool me once. Shame on me.
But Dirge of Cerberus is amazing. You don't want a PS2 era fantasy third-person shooter?
I just played one of the worst PS2 era RPGs I played ever. In Crisis Core.
At least it's short, allegedly.
It's only 10 hours. Thank fucking Christ. I was messaging with Sam, my reviews editor. I was like, is this really this bad? He's like, yeah, it's pretty bad. And then I told him where I was. He's like, oh, you don't have much longer. I'm like, thank God. I can be done with this.
Well, I had a blast playing it.
I know
you've enjoyed it.
And I don't understand.
I'm enjoying it. I'm almost.
But you completed. I don't care what you think.
300 missions. That was great.
Well, I want to pivot to another anime game. I've been playing One Piece Odyssey. I played the demo that came out earlier this week.
Can you put the hat on?
The anime. Actually, I haven't put on the hat yet. You do lose your hat in the beginning. That's like the inciting incident.
Is that like a
yeah?
I don't know. Does this hat have powers? Is it like Frosty the Snowman?
It's not his powers, but it's like his mentor kind of gave it to him and said, "Hey, when you meet me in the new world."
The hat was his mentor. What?
No. His mentor gave him the hat and then said, "Hey, meet me in the other world. Meet me in the second half of One Piece and give me the hat." So that's kind of the driving force. So it's really important to him, like an emotional.
Yes.
Watching you try to boil down that to Otton.
I'm in. We should make that a pod. You just explain One Piece slowly to me.
Explaining One Piece
over time.
Is that going to be like a 6-hour podcast?
No, that's like
Much
a 6-year podcast.
Yeah, so we'd have a lot of content.
Yes, there's over 1,000 chapters of One Piece, Brett. It's been going on for like 30 years.
Episodes.
Yes,
of One Piece.
So if you want to get into it, you got a ways to go.
I've been trying to read and catch up to One Piece for over a year now. It's taken some time.
Back to Odyssey.
Odyssey. So Odyssey is set in a world that's not, so it's like not canon, but Oda Sensei, the author, is involved in it. But as far as we're aware right now, it is not canon to the main story of One Piece. But you end up you get shipwrecked on this island that's like magical and mystical and whatever, and you lose your powers because of course you do. Because by this point, like Luffy and the gang are OP as shit, right? They've unlocked Super Saiyan 20 for context, on for you.
Okay. They're very powerful Gokus.
Yes, they're very powerful Goku. So this one character touches all of them and then takes away their power in the form of cubes. And the cubes disappear into the sky. And you have to find the cubes around the world and also beat bosses that have the cubes.
Marvel Snap tie-in.
Kind of. And the more cubes you get, the more of your powers come back. So that's kind of their, you're starting at level 1, but this is why, like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So you don't have all your powers. You don't have Gear 4 or whatever. And you beat these major bosses to unlock to get like a big chunk of your powers back. And I beat the first boss, and then so I've gone into this watching no trailers really, or like reading into what the story is going to be. So I thought this would be a wholly unique story on this island. And then you get that first big cube, and then you have to do a special thing to unlock its power. And the character who touched you and stole your powers is now working with you and says, "Oh, to do that, you have to dive into your memories." And I have now realized that Odyssey is just sneaking in let's revisit all of One Piece's greatest hits in the form of a JRPG.
Those fuckers.
Yeah, so now the first cube takes you to the desert place, not Dressrosa, but the Alabasta. Yeah, and you're doing the whole like crocodile thing.
Wow,
so,
that's going back far.
Yeah, like you get to see the Going Merry, like their old ship before it got destroyed. Like they're going, but it's the time skip characters, like their designs. So it is kind of interesting seeing them do that because it's not quite a one-to-one retelling of the OG story, because they have this weird bullshit reason that I don't buy, but they're like, oh, things won't happen exactly as you remember because memories are fuzzy like that. But they also say that the enemies you fight in your memories will be as strong as you were before I touched you, because you don't remember how weak they were, I guess, is the weird explanation. Or it's not quite that, but it's like, since you grew stronger, your memories grew stronger, I think is the explanation in the game, which doesn't make sense to me, because I feel like the way memories work is you remember 2 years ago when we beat the shit out of Crocodile when we were weaker. Now think about how we could mop the floor with him with our new powers. I feel like that's how memories really work. But I guess not.
I can't remember how powerful I punch.
Yeah. The Alabaster arc began with episode 92.
Yes.
So they're going back 900 episodes.
Mm-hmm. But I do feel like
anime games doing this, they seem to just only be able to tell the story of the anime over and over again whenever they make a game. Like all Dragon Ball Z games are just, all right, go kill fucking Reddits.
Yeah.
And then we're going through the other sagas. Like
like even Xenoverse was similar. We're still like correcting the timeline, but you're still going through the timeline, right? I don't know if this is going to go through everything. Like I think I've seen pictures of the dude they fight in the Water 7 arc, so I think that's probably going to show up too. But I don't know how far it's going to go. I doubt it's going to cover everything because there are so many chapters, so many sagas, so many bad guys, and like to go through literally 1,000 episodes worth of content is probably a lot for one game to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know how far it's going to go, but in terms of gameplay, I am enjoying it. It is very Dragon Quest. It has the charm of Dragon Quest. So if you like those games and, running around in them and seeing the cute animals and things like that, this is a pretty good, it feels like Dragon Quest with the One Piece skin on it. And I mean that in a good way. Like the combat is
like Dragon Quest 11. I did like it.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Stretch?
I was going to ask what combat's like, and as I was saying it, you led into talking about combat. So
yeah, it's turn-based, it's Dragon Questy, but they do this thing where they're like, you can move your characters around, not like in a Fire Emblem way, but it's like, so let's say you have 3 enemies surrounding Luffy, and then the rest of your team is out there. You can tell them like move here to attack those enemies or not, or maybe shoot them from afar. And each like special attack has a different, it makes you move there, or you can do it from afar. So there's a little bit of like that kind of tactical sense to it. And then there's the typical, like weaknesses, like this enemy's weak to that and this enemy's weak to this. But it is all turn-based. Like there's no real-time movement. There's no like, combos or anything like that. It's just, hit the enemy to gain some mana and then use the mana to do, gum gattling or whatever. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's charming. It's very like, if you like One Piece, you're probably already playing it, honestly. And if you're not, I do feel like this is a good, kind of entry into the JRPG anime area. Like I think it's probably it's one of the better anime game adaptations I've played. I think that's where I'm standing with it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. One Piece Odyssey just came out yesterday. It's on, Friday. It's on all the major platforms. And that about does it for this week's episode of the podcast. We hope you enjoyed. And if you did, please feel free to leave us a review on whatever platform you are listening on. Share it with a friend. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. And let us know in the comments down below, what do you think about this whole OGL business with D&D and all of that? Are you
team Wizards or team literally the good guys?
Yeah,
actually, everyone's on the same team. We're all winning together.
Oh, that's right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's true. Like, which side are you on? Are you the team that won or the other team that won? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you want more news, features, and reviews, you can check us out at techraptor.net, where we publish those every day. But if not, we will be back next Monday in your feed. And we will see you then.